Analyzing the crimson spray, a veteran FBI profiler concluded Nancy Guthrie left her residence on her own power. He scrutinized the stains and the stories they told. To him, the evidence suggested a woman who was upright, alert, and mobile. However, an ex-NSA instructor offers a chilling counter-assessment. She is deceased. After arriving in Tucson, he deployed high-grade military surveillance technology across the neighborhood. The digital silence he encountered was absolute.
This
Nothing.
timeline doesn't make sense.
He then uttered 5
was he
words that
between 10 and
terrified
12?
every official involved in the search.
Phone data is the
Treat
only
this
lead
as
we
a
have.
no-body homicide. One expert holds the truth, while the other is tragically mistaken. That discrepancy defines whether Nancy Guthrie survives in some hidden corner or if her light vanished the very hour she was abducted. You are watching Evidence HQ. Join us as we uncover the FBI findings that blindsided local deputies and rewrote the entire narrative. 54 days, no arrests, no suspects named, no remains, no confirmation of survival, and 2 conflicting realities. The first, Nancy Guthrie is still breathing.
Position of the FBI. As of day 54, the Bureau still classifies this as a rescue mission, not a recovery. That is not a formality. That is a deliberate operational designation that determines how resources are deployed, what kind of searches are conducted, and what assumptions guide the investigation. Here's the evidence that supports it. The blood on the porch. Former FBI profiler Jim Clemente analyzed the droplet pattern based on description.
The rhythm of the stains suggested an upright gait, not the heavy friction of a body being dragged. These were discrete, orderly marks. To a trained eye, this meant Nancy exited her home under her own power. She was alert and mobile. Renowned forensic expert Dr. Michael Baden, a titan in his field, provided a similar haunting insight. He observed distinctively lightened centers within specific blood spatters. This indicates partial drying between falls, proving the movement was staggered. This was no single fluid motion. It was a series of stops. Motion, followed by stillness, then motion again. Authorities verified that the interior of the house showed clear evidence of a violent physical altercation. That terminology confirms resistance. Despite being 84 and alone, she fought a predator who had likely spent weeks planning her disappearance. A victim who resists is a victim who is very much alive. Consider the subsequent ransom demands. 2 distinct messages surfaced, one reaching tabloid outlets and another sent to local Tucson newsrooms. Yet, seasoned federal investigators remain skeptical about the authenticity of those cryptic communications. Devoid of proof of life, their existence implies the perpetrator initially believed they held a living asset worthy of a high-stakes negotiation. The Bureau refuses to pivot the investigation's official status. No recovery teams have been deployed, and the family hasn't been warned to expect a body. 54 days later, the search for a living Nancy Guthrie continues. If that version feels right to you, look no further. You might believe she's waiting to be rescued, that federal agents are closing in, and her missing prescriptions are irrelevant. You might think 54 days is a survivable gap, but the second theory will dismantle every comfort you just found. The second possibility, Nancy Guthrie is gone. This grim outlook is held by Morgan Wright, a former high-level counterterrorism strategist. He once trained NSA operatives in complex behavioral analysis. After a year training
he spent
the
a year
FBI
teaching the
digital
FBI
forensics,
how to conduct
following
internet
18 years as a
investigations.
detective,
He was a state
he knows how
trooper and
killers
detective for
operate.
8
He personally embedded himself in Tucson to dissect the crime scene firsthand. His
words
blunt
that
public
no one
conclusion
else in
involved
this
5 words that
investigation
local
has been
officials
willing
were
to
too
say
terrified
out
to
loud.
whisper. Treat this
as a no-body homicide.
His logic is chilling. Nancy Guthrie was 84 and relied heavily on a pacemaker.
At
Attacked
2 in the morning, blood was found on her porch and
She was
inside
taken
her
without
home.
the
Her
critical
medication,
cardiac
the
her life
medication,
depends
her
on.
heart.
That was 54 days ago. Wright's assessment is cold. This was never a simple home invasion that spiraled out of control. Had
If a burglar was inside the house and something went wrong, the natural human response under stress is fight or flight.
You vanish into the night. You don't waste precious seconds kidnapping an octogenarian, an act that invites massive risk. It complicates the escape. A kidnapper only takes a victim if that abduction was the objective from the very start. Yet, if the goal was to hold Nancy for a payday, why the total silence? No confirmed contact, no proof of life, and no legitimate ransom demands. Those letters to tabloid press offered zero inside information, nothing that proved the sender actually had custody of Nancy. Wright theorizes the planned abduction collapsed when Nancy's heart failed under the extreme psychological stress of a 2 in the morning assault. He theorizes the perpetrator wanted her alive, but her body gave out. With her disappearance, any leverage vanished instantly. He highlights the forensic trail, or more accurately, the void where one should be. Wright analyzed advertising technology signals around the Guthrie residence. This data is harvested from everyday smartphone software, including weather updates, news feeds, and GPS tools. Each interaction between these applications and a remote server generates a persistent electronic breadcrumb. During the critical window from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m., the night she vanished, Wright mapped a 1-mile zone around the house. The result was absolute silence. It wasn't just a weak signal, it was non-existent. No devices, no pings, no activity. This wasn't some clumsy thief who simply left his cell at home. This reflects a calculated effort to scrub every conceivable electronic signature before closing in on the property. Factor in a signal disruptor that neutralized every security camera in the vicinity, and you have an individual who mastered surveillance tech just to dismantle it. Such meticulous planning, Wright notes, points toward a repeat offender. A seasoned predator understands that the abduction itself isn't the highest risk phase.
Kidnapping is not the abduction, it is the ransom exchange. That is when you get caught. That is when the FBI is...
Should Nancy have perished during the initial grab, the perpetrator's entire risk assessment shifts. Any interaction with authorities heightens the chance of
every
capture,
ransom demand is a potential trap. At some point, Wright said...
Eventually, Wright suggests, it devolves into cold logic. You mitigate risk, incinerate the evidence, and vanish into the shadows.
This is the second hypothesis. That is theory 2. Now, here is what makes this case impossible to look away from.
The facts accommodate both narratives. While blood evidence suggests she left the home alive, the electronic blackout tells a darker story.
Theory 2. This was someone prepared for the worst. The FBI's continued rescue designation supports...
54 days without vital medicine points toward a grim outcome. Public analysts remain deeply divided on which path the evidence follows. Jim Clemente leans towards survival. Morgan Wright argues for the alternative. Meanwhile, Jennifer Coffindaffer occupies a middle ground, noting the FBI's optimism while admitting that every passing hour makes a happy ending less likely. One specific factor distinguishes this disappearance from nearly every other cold case in the modern era. The Guthrie family is not in the dark. Savannah, Annie, and Cameron have held private briefings with federal investigators. They are aware of what transpired within those walls and have reviewed classified evidence withheld from the general population. For 54 days, their resolve hasn't wavered. They have committed over $1 million toward bringing her home. Following numerous public appeals, Savannah spoke with Hoda Kotb on the Today Show, uttering 3 words that resonated nationwide. "We are in agony. This isn't simple sorrow or mourning. It is pure, unrelenting torment." Such language belongs to a family trapped in a liminal space, forced to inhabit 2 conflicting realities at once. Yet, one haunting discrepancy remains that neither scenario can adequately account for. The intruder remained inside for 16 minutes, from the initial sensor alert at 2:12 a.m. until Nancy's pacemaker connection flatlined at 2:28.
Went silent. 16 minutes. If this was a targeted abduction by someone who had planned for weeks, why 16 minutes? That is a long time to be inside a house during a kidnapping.
What exactly transpired?
What happened in those 16 minutes that required that much time?
Furthermore,
and if Nancy did not survive the confrontation, why was there blood on the porch leading to the street? Why would someone move a body outside and into a vehicle if there was no longer a reason to take her? Those questions do not...
These riddles remain unsolved in the public eye, though the Bureau might possess the truth within their confidential files. For 54 days, those 16 minutes have served as the impenetrable core of the entire mystery. Morgan Wright offered one chilling observation that lingers. In his years of tracking kidnappers, individuals who scrub their digital tracks, ditch their phones, and deploy signal jammers leave no trace because they are already familiar with the legal system. These are not novices. They understand the mechanics of a manhunt. If that holds true, then a name is buried somewhere in the archives, a sentencing report or a parole document that ties back to this specific crime. The FBI possesses the tools to locate it. Perhaps they already have. One path suggests Nancy is out there, holding on. The other path leads to a grave. The facts are split, but federal agents have already placed their bet. An ex-NSA specialist who surveyed the Tucson scene favors the alternative. For more, visit Evidence HQ. Tomorrow, We examined the moment the FBI seized the reins and uncovered what local police overlooked. Tune in at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. If you possess information regarding Nancy Guthrie, contact the FBI at 1-800-CALL-FBI. A reward of $1.2 million is offered for her secure recovery. 54 days passed without arrests or names, leaving two incompatible theories. One implies hope survives, the other suggests time expired 54 days ago. The audience decides.